switch up our seating arrangement just a little bit. Away from the two tables at the front, I'm going to request all of us who are behind to kindly come closer, please. If you know that there is a chair or an empty table that is in front of you, with the exception of the two at the front, I'm kindly requesting that we move from the back and come here, because this is going to be recorded and it does not look any good having those empty chairs and the people are seated at the back. So I'm kindly requesting that we move in the next 2, 3, 5 minutes, and we will officially be starting off. Humbly, I am not ordering you, I'm kindly requesting that you get to move. Thank you so much. Once again, a very good morning to you. We'll be going back. Professor Goretti says she hasn't eaten. But you see the importance of agriculture. Who of you is wearing something that is not out of any agricultural material? Unless you're wearing, I don't know, metal or something like that. So you see the importance of agriculture. It's always around us. And the best of all is the air that you're breathing. That is nature. That is out of a bit of agriculture that has gone on. I normally say that the environment, and it's lovely that this conference is coming on during the Water Week, the International Water Week, which is seeking to pay attention to matters of environment and climate change and the water resources that we do have. I love to say that we can't live without the environment, and yet the environment can live without us. Now, the reason why we're talking about new research and innovation in the agriculture sector, of course, we didn't expect the rains at this time. The last few weeks were really extremely hot because the times have changed, the rain patterns have changed, and the way we do agriculture as well has to change. Back in the day, we would say, oh, we're gifted by nature, we have 2 seasons, and we would tell between this period of time we're going to have rains. It's no longer the same case. We have 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 case. I think Uganda's population is not just 68% of people who are in agriculture. I think a much greater percentage of that, when we look at remembering that even in our national development plan, we are talking about agro-industrialization, And then we'll also be getting to understand, probably a few of my colleagues in the media would also love to know, why is this an important conference to pay attention to, a third edition, but why do we have to keep on reminding ourselves and going through all the work that we have done, the research and innovations that have come through in the agricultural sector. So ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together as we invite Professor Goretti to speak to us.
A very, very good morning, colleagues. Welcome to this particular conference that we all have been waiting for. I'll start by asking members, how many of you tell the truth every time? Can I see by show of hand? If you tell the truth every time, all the time, whatever the situation, where are the hands? Okay, at least my Vice Chancellor tells the truth all the time. You have to think about it. And for those who tell the truth every time, how many of you did not stop their alarm clock to wake up to come this conference? Think about the weather. Think about the rain you braved to be here. How many of you? How many of you are not missing their beds right now? Okay, that means that you all left your comfort zone to be able to be with us today. We don't take that for granted. This morning, we are really, really privileged to be coming together as a team that has supported the agricultural sector in the country. Mildred did mention that agriculture might be the backbone of our existence, and nobody is taking that for granted. And today we are going to share what has been going on for a very, very long time. Makerere University just celebrated 100 years. We don't take that for granted. And Naro has been around for a very, very long time. Before I go into the detail, I would like to use this session to be a session that will bring to light the people behind this conference. It's called the Naro-Mak Conference. And today in the room, we have the leads of those organizations. And as I go into the officials, I would like to invite these particular lead persons to join the podium so that you are into the mood of listening into what we are going to offer in these 3 days. Allow me invite none other than the Vice Chancellor of Makerere University, Professor Barnabas Nawangwe, to come and take his seat. I'm sure you should be clapping a little more. 100 years is not a mean, and most of you must have gone through Makerere University in one way or another. And now also, join me to welcome none other than the Director General of Naro, Dr. Ambrose Agona. Are those enough for the person who is holding the backbone of agriculture? You are welcome. When you see these two personnel, then you know the conference has started. At some point, we will have the official opening, but we wanted to start with the house rules so that you get to understand a little bit about the organizations that are behind the Naro-Mak Conference. And that is none other than Makerere University and the National Agriculture Organization. I'll now dive into the protocols so that we are all on the same page. I am hoping that all the members invited are here. We invited the Prime Minister of the Republic of Uganda, the Right Honorable Robin Anabanja, the Minister of Agriculture, Animal Industry and Fisheries, Honorable Frank Tumwebaze, the Director General, who is already here, the Director General, who is already here, the Chairperson of Makerere University Council, Madame Rona Magara, the the Chairperson of Naro Council, Dr. William Oraho, the Chairperson, USAID, Feed the Future, the keynote speaker, Mr. Olen Wanda, members of Makerere University Council and Management, the Naro Management Team, officials from Makerere University and Naro, distinguished guest participants, ladies and gentlemen. Before I continue, I must have the chairperson of the organizing committee to be right next to me here, Dr. Imelda. Kindly give her a big applause, because what you see here, she has spent sleepless nights to bring us this far. Dr. Imelda, I'm waiting for you before I make these remarks. Colleagues, thank you very much for accepting our invitation to join this important event aimed at establishing appropriate and value strategy towards accelerating agro-industrialization in Uganda and Africa at large. In a special way, allow me warmly welcome the Prime Minister, who I'm told is yet to arrive. He should be on his way. The Minister of Agriculture, Animal Industry and Fisheries, Honorable Frank Tumwebaze, the Director General Naro, Dr. Ambrose Agona, the Chairperson, Makerere University Council, Mrs. Rona Magara, and the Chairperson, Naro Council, the Vice Chancellor, Makerere University. Thank you for honoring our invitation to participate in this conference. The Naro-Mak Conference was introduced in 2018 to serve as a platform for evidence-based dialogue on practical issues in the agricultural sector, with special focus on innovation for agro-industrialization. The conference also provides opportunity to participate specifically for the stakeholders in the agricultural sector to showcase advances in research and innovation that can contribute to the development and transformation of the sector. This conference, therefore, seeks to engage stakeholders, including government, research and innovation systems, and development partners, to find options for accelerated agro-industrialization on the African continent. The theme for this year's conference is innovations for enhancing productivity and agro-industrialization. We also have a number of sub-themes, which include challenges and opportunities in mechanization and agro-industrialization, modernization of post-harvest management and food safety systems, intensification of crop productivity and seed systems, accelerating development of animal resource-based industry, managing interactions among agriculture, fragile ecosystems, and the changing environment, and embracing ICT-based innovations for agricultural transformation. All these are intended to address the challenges creeping in the agriculture sector. Yet, our country and many others on the African continent rely on agriculture, and it is our biggest sector in terms of economic growth. Ladies and gentlemen, transforming the agricultural sector requires innovativeness. In line with strategic goal number 1 of Makerere University that seeks to transform the university into a research-led institution, the College of Agriculture and Environmental Sciences is transforming its mode of operation in order to stimulate innovativeness and entrepreneurship within learners and faculty. In 2022, a pact for transformational change at KAYES was developed, through which we shall be innovative and intentional on transforming into a college with effective and efficient management systems, adequate supportive infrastructure, and highly innovative staff to drive our innovation intentional agenda enshrined in the pact. Through our 3 schools, for those who have come through the gates of Makerere, you will notice that we now have the School of Agricultural Sciences, the School of Food Technology, Nutrition, and Bioengineering, and the School of Forestry, Environmental, and Geographical Sciences, in addition to the 14 research institutions, including the Makerere University Agricultural Research Institute at Kabanyoro. Through KAYES Innovation Scholars Program, we have been supported by Michigan State University, and many of our staff and students at KAYES have been coached to enhance their innovativeness and provide practical solutions to the effects of climate change in the agricultural sector. And with this, we believe that KAYES, as a unit at Makerere University, is better situated to navigate and also spearhead the innovations within the agricultural sector. Indeed, working with several partners and faculty at the college, we have over the years produced cutting-edge research and innovations that have greatly transformed the agricultural sector and the country in general. I'll mention just a few of the many innovations at Makerere University, spearheaded by the College of Agriculture and Environmental Sciences. And since we are talking about innovations, this is the right time for you to open your ears and listen into what Makerere has done. To date, we have the Makerere University Soil Testing Kit, which provides a rapid soil assessment which can inform soil requirements to improve soil management, crop yields, and incomes for the farmers. We have the disease, pest, and climate stress-tolerant cowpea breed and sorghum under the Makerere University Regional Center for Crop Improvement. We have 6 varieties of the Mak soybeans, which are drought, disease, and high-yielding with short maturity periods. And this is conducted under the Center for Soybean Improvement and Development at Makerere University. Recently, we have the Kebera ICT-based solution to detect inorganic contaminants as well as microtoxins in food. Who wouldn't want to know what is in the food that they are eating? This is a solution we are providing. We have the 3-wheeled multi-purpose farmer's tractor, which we call the MV Mulimi, and this is able to thrash maize, pump water from a depth of 7 meters to a height of 33 meters, plow gardens, transport up to 20 adults and their goods over a reasonable distance, as well as charge mobile phones. We are all ICT compliant. Most of us are thinking about how to improve our soils because of soil fertility loss. At Makerere University, we have the biofertilizer formulations, the only biofertilizer in the country. And this is aimed at unlocking the productivity for improved food security. We also have an automated spray dryer for egg powder production, and this can also be used in bakeries. I will continue so that we go. Okay, now it's okay. Okay, thank you. Yes, this automated spray dryer for eggs. So we are able now to get powder. Let me call it powdered egg for those who would want to simplify the English. We also have the refractancy window dryer technology for production of high-quality bioproducts. Most of our jackfruits, all our mangoes, sometimes when you go to the market and the supermarket on the shelves, you find dried jackfruit. This is the technology that we have developed. The green low-cost touchless hand wash technology, this came out of the COVID research, and the communal hand wash pumps to eliminate COVID-19 transmission, which we call the MAC-9. We actually just modernized the Nikondo. Most of you have fetched water from the Nikondo. Now we have automated it. You don't want to have your children spending a whole day swinging on the pump to be able to get the water. You just press a switch and the water comes out. And also with respect to the livestock, we have a livestock milk booster produced from sugarcane industrial waste to mitigate malnutrition, extreme hunger, and poverty through improved milk production, nutrition, and improved daily cash flows among farmers. Our researchers have also produced and promoted protocols for banana tissue culture for quick multiplication and disease control to improve yields. Added value to sweet potato and sorghum enterprises. Some of you, if you visit Makerere, you will get a chance to taste the cookies that are out of sweet potatoes and sorghum. And this has also helped in eliminating post-harvest losses, because in the harvest season, a lot of potatoes are sent to waste. Now we have value for them. We are now fully engaged in the horticultural research that will transform the vegetable and flower industry in Uganda. The college also has several climate-smart innovations to minimize the effects of climate change on agriculture production. I also take this opportunity to inform you that we have rejuvenated training for innovation, production, and commercialization at our research institute in Kabanyoro. And with this, we hope to have more innovations in the agricultural sector. Apart from our efforts to combat climate change and its effects on agricultural production, the college also, through its School of Forest, Environmental and Geographical Sciences, on 6th December last year, launched the first 30-acre Kayes Botanical Garden for in-situ conservation of indigenous tree species at Kabanyoro. This is going to be the first and the only one in the country for in-situ conservation of indigenous species. And also in 2022, a new Curad Incubation Hub was commissioned at Namanthe Business Park. And this is an indication that Makerere University is moving towards innovations beyond the just research that we do on the daily. And who knows, very soon the market might be populated with innovation industries out of innovations from Makerere University. As I conclude, ladies and gentlemen, we thank the government of Uganda and all development partners for supporting these initiatives. Without you, we wouldn't have gone this far. And I also very much appreciate our initiatives and providing a conducive, our University Council and management for providing the supporting environment for us to be able to explore our full potential. And in a special way, I want to acknowledge our long-time partners, the Naro colleagues and team, who have yielded several positive results in the engagements that we have taken. In a special way, finally, I want to thank the organizing committee that have braved all the challenges that have brought us this far. And I know that together we continue to seek solutions to the challenges derailing the agricultural sector, and we are hopeful that through these deliberations we shall move Uganda towards agro-industrialization as we innovate intentionally and as we build for the future. You will forgive me as a chair, I use the opportunity because on the program I didn't see anywhere where I was given an opportunity to give a speech. So I have stolen the moment and shared what I felt you needed to know before you leave the conference. Without any ado further, I would like to invite none other than the chair of the organizing committee of the Naro-Mak Conference 2023, Dr. Imelda Kashaija.
Our chief guest, who is yet to arrive, our DG Naro, the Vice Chancellor, and all protocol observed, ladies and gentlemen. I wish to let you know that the organizing committee of the National Agricultural Research Organization, jointly with Makerere University, welcomes you to this third biennial Naro-Mak Joint Scientific Conference. It is a third biennial because this Naro-Mak, indeed, as the word said, it takes place every 2 years. The first one, joint, took place in 2016. The next one was in 2018, and the third one was supposed to be in 2020, but was interrupted by COVID. And this was found to be the most appropriate to conduct our third biennial conference. This year, the overall theme of the conference, as the chair of the session has already mentioned it to you, I repeat for the sake of emphasis, is innovations for enhancing productivity and agro-industrialization. It is well aligned with the Uganda's National Development Plan and the sector as a whole. It was deemed by the Conference Organizing Committee as a pertinent topic as it speaks to Africa and other developing countries that still rely on the agricultural sector as the main source of livelihood. I will not repeat the sub-themes because the session chair brought them out very well, but I would like to know that in addition to those 7 ones mentioned, which have received presentations from all cross-cutting aspects, such as gender and equity, HIV, the contribution of public and private partnerships, applications of renewable energy, all cross-cutting issues will also be presented and listened to and discussed. Ladies and gentlemen, the choice of the sub-themes for this year were premised on the realization that One, there's a key gap in the development of agriculture sector, and it is the aspect of incomplete value chains. Africa needs to embrace and nurture agriculture value chains that are competitive locally and at the global level. At the same time, the value chains should support the burgeoning agro-industry, and bearing in mind the current challenges of climate change and associated challenges, Africa countries must urgently focus on enhancing productivity and optimal as well as sustainable use of resources such as land, labor, capital, and time. In the face of globalization and agro-industrialization, that word is very difficult, this process has to be facilitated by efficient infrastructure, including institutions that support safety standards, coupled with adequate funding. That was realization number one that made us think about those sub-themes. Number two was that the agriculture sector must continuously innovate to compete in the changing ecosystem. Appropriate and evolving seed systems, production practices, post-harvest management, and value addition to improve marketability are necessary for continuous innovations. And in this fast modernizing era, value chain systems must be supported by improvements in information and communication technology. And we also know that ICT can reduce transaction costs, specifically those associated with missing markets and lack of farmer integration into markets. The efficiency of the support institutions that facilitate the value chains also are enhanced by ICT. The futurity of value chains and success in transforming the agriculture sector rests with the youth. This is now the third point that informed our the sub-themes. Therefore, the need for future-proofing the youth for engagement in agricultural value chains cannot be overemphasized. Its impact as well as strategies for comprehensive support to the youth, however, need to be well assessed and understood for the development of appropriate solutions. It's also realized that the need to manage external shocks, especially COVID-19, which is a main factor in vulnerability and unprecedented challenges to agri-food systems around the globe, also informed the topics of this conference. Notably, this conference was organized specifically and especially to promote dialogue on the practical issues surrounding the above highlighted aspects. Intentionally, the conference focuses on innovations for agro-industrialization. So this one will be coming out very much. This path, we believe, is the future of the development of the agricultural sector, especially in Africa. From the discourse at this conference, the knowledge shared on advances in research and innovation, and the ideas generated to inform the transformation of the agricultural sector will be concretized into practical recommendations for use in the formulation of both technical and policy interventions. Again, ladies and gentlemen, allow me to acknowledge the contributions to this conference in different forms. The conference organizing committee is extremely grateful to the government of the Republic of Uganda for creating and maintaining an enabling, safe, and supportive environment that allows research to be done and this kind of conferences for sharing knowledge to be held. It is noted with appreciation that with funding from the government, the host institutions, that is Naro and Makerere, especially the College of Agriculture and Environmental Sciences, supported the preparations and running of this conference. We would like, as a conference committee, to greatly appreciate the sponsors of this conference. And at this point, as I recognize them, or the conference committee recognizes them, I would also like to request them to show their presence to be recognized by the rest of the participants. They are not necessarily in order, but would like to appreciate and recognize the following who supported this conference financially in addition to the host institutions and the government. And these, they include both current and prospective partners, collaborators, and friends of Naro and Makerere University. Among them, we have got USAID, Feed the Future, especially the component of Uganda Institutional Systems Strengthening Activity. I would like to call the people from this activity who are here to stand up for recognition. All of you, wherever you are. Yes. That is Anthony Nyungu, the leader of the activity. I see Proskovia in blue and Rona in white. You know there are many, but those are the ones who are here now. Then we also have still, you said Feed the Future, but the agricultural research activity. Anybody from this activity, please stand up for recognition. Okay. We have ABI Development Limited. Anybody from ABI Development Limited? They will arrive later. We have Kabi Africa. Kabi Africa, if you are here, please stand up for recognition. Okay. The World Bank. The World Bank. Okay. Then FAO, Food and Agriculture Organization, Uganda. Okay. Recognized in absentia. The Nile Breweries Limited. Recognized in absentia. And we had an individual contribution towards KAYES, Professor Nicholas Chigundo, also recognized in absentia. Yes. And of course, all of you, I would say you have also contributed, participants, through your registration fees. So you are also, we are all equally recognized. We don't have to stand up, but we can clap for ourselves. The conference organizing committee also greatly appreciates all the presenters of both the oral papers that we're going to listen to and the poster papers that we shall be viewing behind there. We recognize them for their hard work and for the willingness to share their knowledge in this conference. The presence of policymakers, development partners, members of the private sector, and all of you in your respective capacities cannot be taken for granted. We thank you for coming to participate in this conference. We sincerely appreciate and thank the Right Honorable Prime Minister of Uganda, the Minister of Prime Minister of Uganda who is to open the conference, the Honorable Minister of Water and Environment, who will grace the conference by closing it, the Minister of Agriculture, Animal Industry and Fisheries, who is the chief host and is going to be also going to be part of the officiating of the opening and closing of this important conference. Our efforts as a conference organizing committee, we also acknowledge it here. And specifically, the conference committee is comprised by members who I think should also be known at this conference for recognizing our efforts, but also in case of need of any question or clarification, these are the people that we can also go to. It is chaired by none other than me, Imelda Kashija. It is co-chaired by Dr. Yazid Bamutaze, but he's not with us right now. He had to be out of the country, so recognized in absentia. Other members included Dr. Maureen Wimbawazi, She may not be here because we are all busy working, but you are all recognized. Mr. Joseph Mbihaimana, Ms. Victoria Mbigide, Ms. Christine Elong, Dr. Cassius Aroho, Dr. Titus Arichai, Dr. Abel Atkwase, Professor Bernard Bashasha, Dr. Alice Turinawe, Dr. Jessica Nakavuma, Mr. Albert Muhumza, Dr. Jenny Nakarunji, Ms. Mary Nantare, Dr. Isaac Dramadri, and Ms. Reste Kabagambe. The services and support given by the rapporteuring team, led by Mr. Napoleon Kajunju, are highly also esteemed too. And if Napoleon is here, okay. Last but not least, in terms of recognition, are the abstracts, are the people who reviewed our abstracts. Without those abstracts being reviewed, peer-reviewed, we wouldn't have what to talk about in this room. So they spend their time and experience to do the work, and we value them very much. And for recognition, they include, if I forget anybody, you will excuse me, or he or she will excuse me, but the best of my remembering, they include Professor Nelson Tuyahawe, Dr. Prose Isibukaru, Dr. Experito Muyanja, Dr. Tony Obua, Dr. Robert Kawuki, Dr. Michael Tim, Dr. S.B. Mukasa, Dr. Florence Ruiza, Dr. Paul Asete, Dr. Kanifa Kamatara, Dr. Pius Ritakome, Dr. Sidwiki Mugerwa, Dr. Peace Musimenta, Dr. Donald Kugonza, Dr. Jimmy Lemon, Dr. Joel Wiyinza, Engineer Alphonse Chandia, Engineer Dr. Florence Chiimba, Dr. John Wasige, and Ms. Catherine Agowe. Equally acknowledged here as reviewers are also the conference organizing committee members that did that part. And last but not least, we appreciate the ambient conference facilities and excellent customer care availed by the Speak Resort Munyonyo. So those who are not here, please take our recognition to them. So ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of the conference organizing committee, I want to thank you once again for coming, and we look forward to fruitful deliberations on in this conference. And I'm doing this on behalf of the third biennial Naro-Mak Joint Conference, which I have just recognized. For God and my country.
Colleagues, those hand claps are not enough for the team that has brought us this far into the ambience that we enjoy today. We are still talking about telling the truth. Today, it's going to be the theme of telling the truth. How many of you remember those partners that have supported us? How many were they? Just show your hand with the fingers, 2, 3, 4, 5. We are telling the truth. Do we remember? Seems like nobody remembers. Okay, at least one. These partners are our partners in development. And as we innovate, these are the people we need to link with, we need to work with. We should have invited the people in industry who should be picking up the innovations that we have. So if we are innovation intentional and into agro-industrialization, none of the research institutes, none of the universities will take this mantra. We need our partners. Think about who do we need to involve on this journey that we have started. On that note, allow me invite none other than the only Vice Chancellor of Makerere University that we have, Professor Barnabas Nawangwe.
Thank you very much, Professor Navanog. That statement sent a chill down my spine. I wasn't aware that there were other pretenders. As the DG Naro has just said. The Prime Minister of the Republic of Uganda, the Right Honorable Robin Anabanja, the Minister of Agriculture, Animal Industry and Fisheries, Honorable Frank Tumwebaze, the Chairperson, Makerere University Council, Mrs. Lona Magara, the Chairperson, Naro Council, Dr. William Mukani, the Director General, Naro, Dr. Ambrose Agona, the Chairperson, USAID, Feed and Future, the keynote speaker, Mr. Olen Wanda, members of Makerere University Council and Management, the Naro management team, the principal and management of the College of Agriculture and Environmental Sciences, distinguished participants, the press, ladies and gentlemen. It is my pleasure and distinct honor to welcome you, the distinguished participants, and to be part of this important event, convened to deliberate on ways of enhancing productivity and agro-industrialization in the agriculture sector. Allow me in a special way to recognize the presence to be of the Prime Minister of the Republic of Uganda, the Right Honorable Robin Anabanja. Thank you for taking time off your busy schedule to join us for this conference. Special recognition to the Minister of Agriculture, Animal Industries and Fisheries, Honorable Frank Tumwebaze, the Director General Naro, Dr. Ambrose Agona, the Chairperson, Makerere University Council, Mrs. Lona Magara, and the Chairperson, Naro Council, Dr. William Mukani. Thank you for sparing time to join this important conversation aimed at transforming Uganda's #1 sector. The theme of this year's conference, Innovations for Enhancing Productivity and Agro-Industrialization, is timely. I am happy to note that as Makerere aspires to become a research-led university, as per the 2020-2030 strategic plan, innovativeness is one of our strategic areas of focus. It is gratifying to note that our College of Agriculture and Environmental Sciences has adopted an innovation intentional agenda enshrined in the College Transformation Pact with the aim of increasing innovativeness among staff and students. With this, we expect to see more innovations at the college that will greatly boost agricultural production and agro-industrialization. Already, I must acknowledge that CAES, as we know it in short, accounts for 30% of all research and publications at Makerere University. CAES also leads in the production of innovations and patents at the university. Thank you, Professor Goretti, the principal, and your management team for leading this initiative. I am also pleased to inform you that we have set up a research and innovations hub to boost innovativeness at the university. You are all welcome to utilize this facility as we strive to transform our economy. Distinguished participants, allow me in a special way to acknowledge the support extended towards these initiatives by the government of Uganda and all our development partners. Through several engagements with the government and our development partners, the university has managed to secure a substantial number of grants to support high-impact research and innovations that inform national development priorities. Besides the enormous support from our local and international partners, the government of Uganda is heavily investing in cutting-edge research at Makerere University. And for that reason, we have managed to come up with several high-impact innovations in various fields of academia. With the wise guidance of the President of the Republic of Uganda, His Excellency General Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, the government of Uganda has so far extended support to 750 research projects at Makerere University worth 90 billion shillings, equivalent to about $25 million over the last 4 years. Through the Presidential Initiative on Science and Technology, the government extended a substantial amount of funds towards several development projects at Makerere, specifically at the College of Agriculture and Environmental Sciences, the College of Engineering, Design, Art and Technology, and the College of Veterinary Medicine, Animal Resources, and Biosecurity. Through these projects and many others, supported by our development partners, our researchers have come up with a number of innovations that directly address community challenges. Some of these have been enumerated by the principal. With support from the government of Uganda, we set up the Food Technology and Business Incubation Center, a state-of-the-art center where innovations, knowledge, and skills are transformed into viable enterprises. These and many other projects highlighted by the principal have tremendously transformed the agriculture sector and greatly improved the livelihoods of our people. I am happy to note that through the KAYES Innovation Scholars Program, supported by the Michigan State University's Global Center for Food Systems Innovation, many of our staff and students at KAYES have been coached to enhance their innovativeness, to provide practical solutions to challenges affecting the agriculture sector. I commend the principal and her team for effectively steering the program. Through this program, our researchers have developed several innovations, one of the most outstanding being the Kebera ICT-based solution to detect inorganic contaminants as well as mycotoxins in food with the aim of increasing access to international markets. It is also gratifying to note that KAYES has rejuvenated production at the Makerere University Research Institute, Kawanyolo, for commercialization. We thank you for this initiative. I take this opportunity to acknowledge the efforts of all researchers who dedicate time to searching for solutions to the challenges affecting various sectors of our economy. What the researchers at Naro and Makerere are doing is invaluable. Let me take this opportunity to thank the colleagues from Naro for supervising our PhD and master's students. I think they deserve some applause, at least from my colleagues at Makerere. These researchers have to address issues of our fast-growing population. And at every opportunity, I talk about our growing population, our exploding population, where we are told that by 2050, our population will be 100 million. And by 2100, we will be more than 200 million. I don't know if you are as frightened as I am. So we have to address the issues of that population in light of deteriorating soil productivity, climate change, and emerging crop and animal diseases. The livelihoods and survival of our people very much depends on what you do as researchers. So the task is actually enormous, that we must feed an increasing population with less land, because a lot of the land is being taken up by urban settlements, and also less productivity. So the researchers have a very huge task to do. Ladies and gentlemen, Makerere University values partnerships in the search for solutions to challenges crippling our economy. Indeed, Strategic Goal 4 in our 2020 and 2030 strategic plan seeks to enhance partnership with industry, the community, and international and local institutions. Through collaboration with various government agencies and research institutions, including Naro, we have come up with several innovations that have boosted the agriculture sector. Makerere and Naro researchers working jointly developed and introduced several crop varieties like the Nambale beans, soybean, and the lab pasture that have improved the agriculture sector as well as food security. As we work towards making Makerere a research-led university, I encourage more of these partnerships that will enable us to address community challenges through training, cutting-edge research, and innovations. I cannot overemphasize the need to collaborate with our local institutions, and we very much value our collaboration with Naro. I wish, with those few words, to wish you successful deliberations as you endeavor to establish appropriate and viable strategies towards accelerated agro-industrialization with focus on the African continent. Thank you as we build for the future.
That hand clap does not deserve the lead of a 100-year institution. Thank you, Professor Nawangwe. I picked two very important things, that Makerere University is very intentional on innovations. I also pick that in their strategic focus and direction, Makerere University has a specific goal, goal number 4, on partnerships. There's no way we're going to innovate if we don't deal with the element of who we partner with. Now is the time to be able to select the right partners. Again, we go back to telling the truth. Who has not looked at their watch to say that this session has dragged? Put up your hand. We are only telling the truth. Who of you has not looked at their WhatsApp since they sat in here? We are only telling the truth. And I know if there's no hand up, everybody has. But allow us this last moment to be able to listen to our great partner. As Makerere University, my Vice Chancellor did mention that we are on the road of getting more partners, but we cannot forget the longest partner that we have been with. And this is none other than the Director General of Naro, Dr. Ambrose Agona.
When we talk about partnerships, we ask ourselves a number of questions. What's the in thing for me in this partnership? But knowing that the DNA in me and part of the building blocks that I have came all the way from Makerere. So thank you very much, Makerere, for being a good partner. Oh, ladies and gentlemen, I know Uganda's got potential, and definitely when you invite guests, you expect everybody to be around. Of course, today we have embraced virtual communication kind of approaches. And again, spiritually, I know some of you, if I'm to make, say, like a prediction or a prophecy, you may even become prime ministers. You may become the real ministers of agriculture. You may become the DG Naro. You may become even the vice chancellor. Though it doesn't have any threat right now, there's potential in this country. Please allow me to welcome the Right Honorable Prime Minister of Uganda, the Honorable Minister of Agriculture, Animal Industry and Fisheries, the Chairperson of the Naro Governing Council, the Chairperson of Makerere University Council, my colleague, the Vice Chancellor of Makerere University, development partners who are here today, the organizing committee of the Naro-Mak Scientific Conference. Today, without the scientists, the distinguished scientists that are here today, we'll be having this kind of convening. You're most welcome. The media fraternity, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. On behalf of Naro fraternity, please allow me to warmly welcome you to the third Naro-Mak Joint Scientific Conference. Your presence here today, we don't take it for granted, but strongly demonstrates your dedication and commitment to the science agenda of agricultural transformation in a bio-led economy. With you on our side, I strongly believe we are moving in the right direction, especially during this era of the fourth industrial revolution. We could have missed the third industrial revolution, but with the kind of appetite that you have, especially in generation of innovations and technologies, I believe all that you're contributing for the socio-economic transformation and the ecosystem resilience of our country. When I scan the environment, and of course you're saying with science, you're talking about evidence-based kind of migration. Today, as we are in the fourth industrial revolution, you're talking about the Internet of Things. You're talking about biotechnology. You're talking about nanotechnology. You're talking about the big data. You're talking about robotics. You're talking about artificial intelligence. I strongly believe without this kind of convening, there's no way you can demonstrate that actually we are delivering. We are causing and we have this kind of appetite. And all that we do, we are supposed to actually contribute a global pool of knowledge and at the same time to extract from there. But the key question is, what have you done? What have you contributed to modern knowledge? We're talking about big data sharing. Of course, we're talking about the big brothers who could be doing that on right. But I'd like to thank Makerere for building capacity. And today, when you look at me, I think the Vice Chancellor must be quite happy and saying the DG Naro, being the Director General of Naro, is like an outcome from what you built. And there's so many of us here. I know, Mildred, you talk a lot of science, talk a lot of agriculture, and you're a good practitioner, but at the same time, to your part in communicating that we do. You can do good research, but if you don't have the opportunity of communicating it to your people, to the continent, globally, you're not doing much. We can write fantastic scientific papers. Today we talk about papers with total factor. When we look at maybe 14, 15, and so on. But the key question is, how is a smallholder farmer in Kwania district, where I come from, benefiting from such? I think we are talking about also supporting government. Today we are saying migration to mid-income level. At what status are we now? I'm proud to admit I live in Wakiso district, and when you look at this country, the three best performing districts who have gone beyond even the mid-income level, Wakiso is number one. Do you know the per capita of those who look at Wakiso is like $3,250? Kampala, $2,665. Mukono at $1,765. But when I look at people from Kagadi, you're still actually stuck at $56 as per capita. Aleptong at 64. Who shall we actually consider? Do we need to concentrate our research agenda for the people of Wakiso? Why should I go to Ndambila Tuk? Because we're talking about measurable outcomes. Whatever we do, we're talking about contribution to transformation. But I like to say, as a government agency, our core mandate as Naro is to coordinate, to oversee, and guide agricultural research in the country. And in this kind of convening, It's a platform whereby it keeps you actually updated on the technologies. When I heard the Vice Chancellor and the chairperson of this session mentioning what Makere has contributed, and also what Mildred has said, today we are talking about causing visibility. Some people say now is not seen, and now is not heard about. Recently I was reminded, whenever you're eating, look at the source. Look at the source of carbohydrates. There's an invisible vista called Naro, because these are products of Naro. Now we're talking about increasing visibility. What more do you want really to see? What more do you want to see? Because you're talking about branding. If at all, actually, beans could be having, you have those molecular markers, and you're saying this registered trademark of Naro, we are putting in the plate. Now it's everywhere in this country. So I strongly believe, and I congratulate all the scientists, all the technical staff, even the support staff, who has been actually causing all this development. Ladies and gentlemen, when I reflect on the theme of this convening, you're talking about innovations for enhancing productivity and agro-industrialization. Making a reflection, looking at the carbon footprints that some of us have left behind, I'd like to remind you that you're all cognizant that agriculture is the backbone of African economy, where almost 70% of the population depends on it as its primary source of livelihoods and account for 25% of the GDP. It is observed, however, that African agriculture productivity and yields are among the lowest. Yields are less than those achieved in Asia. You ask yourself, where's the problem? Where's the bottleneck? What can we do better? Now we look at Naro-Mak and all the other institutions that are poised to cause development. Are we ready? Are we identified the problem? And today, Vice Chancellor, is one good thing to reserve funds from development partners. But you to be asked a question that you have that $1, where can you put that $1? Definitely you put it clearly where your mouth is. But the most important question is, where's your mouth? I'd like to observe that although the volume of agricultural production has doubled over the past 3 decades in Africa, the increase is largely on the extensive margin, owing to expansion of total area cultivated, as opposed to increased factor productivity. One of NARO's key strategies, we are saying in the next few years to come, depending on our strategic plan, 2018-2019, to 2027 to 2028, we are talking about increasing total factor productivity. How can we realize the best yields in terms of nutrient densities, in terms of volume itself, at the lowest cost? How can we do that and right? Again, allow me to submit that furthermore, the vast majority of agricultural activities are at subsistence level, farm sizes, remaining small, where more than 85% of land holdings are less than 2 hectares. And today we're talking about mechanization. Look at land fragmentation. Notwithstanding the topographies, notwithstanding the land skills operating art, and we're talking about mechanization. Can this be done? Can it now cause actually the increment of the total factor productivity we have been talking about? Furthermore, reflecting on the theme, agro-industrialization, due to its backward and forward linkages, increases value addition in GDP. It stimulates businesses well beyond the closest links with the direct input suppliers and product buyer. It has the potential to bolster a range of ancillary services, and supporting activities in the secondary and tertiary sectors. Agro-industrialization enables product development, diversification, differentiation, and even intensification. Therefore, we believe, with that in view, it increases opportunities for employment, for increasing incomes, for strengthening food security, and improving nutrition to provide a healthier and productive workforce. Ladies and gentlemen, allow me to say, since most agricultural products are bulky and perishable, many agro-industries and small-scale agro-processing enterprises must be located close to sources of raw materials. I'll not mention names. I had an experience not so long ago. There's a very big sunflower factory somewhere near Kapeka. And definitely, when you look at the ecosystem, look at the ecological zone, definitely if you've been doing actually close marking, sunflower doesn't do well there, but it's a big factory. Some people, instead of consulting consultants like you and me, they went and bought sunflower within Kampala. Sunflower is sunflower, but they can't tell the difference between grain and seed. Farmers were given seeds or grains, non-germinated. So there's a white elephant somewhere. So the key question is, why don't we why as planning? We're talking about embracing partnerships, strategic collaboration. Why don't we talk to each other and gain something from? But there's a big white elephant somewhere. But we strongly believe when these industries and factories are placed where the raw materials are, you're creating business. You're lifting the standards of the poor person there. Permit me to say, ladies and gentlemen, that development can only be meaningful if it is done in a sustainable manner. Uganda is endowed by nature, good climate, and good soils. And despite its small size, it is home to almost half of East Africa's arable land. But despite these disadvantages, Uganda still faces various challenges, such as low agricultural productivity, soil degradation, food insecurity, and climate change. These challenges can be addressed through sustainable approaches. We're talking about the application of science to involve the use of modern, innovative, environmentally friendly technologies and best practices to create value-added products and services that can compete in both local and international markets. I heard a lot being talked about the youth as one of the cornerstones. And you know, Mr. Vice Chancellor, I also had an opportunity of teaching a professor. And none other than Professor Bernard Bashasha. One time I told him, you the professors talk about youth engagement, but you understand the youth in this country. And I gave him a peace of mind. And you're talking about telling the truth and the whole truth. So at the end of the day, you'll ask this question, that do we know the youth in this country? And I talked to Professor Bashas and I said, look, in Uganda, talk about the youth. There's what they call the youth typology. You draw a circle, divide into 4 quadrants, and you define the youth in this country, Mr. Vice Chancellor. Maybe let me share this with you. In the first quadrant, you have the youth that have been to Makerere University. They're intellectually compliant, and they're motivated to work, but there's no work. Don't we have them in this country? You find them now riding border borders, doing all sorts of hot jobs. Then the second quadrant, you have the youth that are intellectually compliant, but they're not motivated to make their hands dirty. Today, we could be saying agri-entrepreneurship is the way forward, but they don't see it. But of course, you're also talking about digital migration. Some of them could be doing it. You're talking about WhatsApp, who hasn't used it, whatever, and so on. Then this third quadrant, you have the youth who are intellectually challenged, but they're motivated to work. But there are no incentives to help them out and so on. How can we harness, how can we harvest this group? But the fourth quadrant, your guess could be as good as mine. They're intellectually challenged, and they're not motivated even to work. And of course, when you hear there's no, is it work to work, whatever, and so on, talk about the Al-Shabaab, talk about, you know where you can get them from. So now we talk about this, present you this kind of equation, so as Naro-Mak tries to bring them and engage them, which one is your choice? But of course, I strongly believe we have a philosophy of leaving nobody behind. So that's the $1 question I'm asking. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I strongly believe to achieve sustainable development, the government of Uganda is invested in research through its agencies such as Naro and higher education institutions. The government has also invested in infrastructure such as the roads, the broadband ICT network, among others, that enable these institutions to operate smoothly. I'm glad to report that research findings and innovations that will be showcased in this conference are a result of government investment, plus even our partners in development. But the key question is, for that $1 invested, and Professor Bashar will tell you what will be the returns on investment on that. Today, if government stop funding agricultural research, are we going to die? Today, if Makil doesn't receive any money from government, are we going to die? So what value propositions are you coming up with to see as the government embraces the National Development Plan 3 and you're a partner and you're a participant in this, what contribution are you pledging to the country, to the people? Ladies and gentlemen, you know, I said Uganda is blessed, and some of us are gifted by nature. I can talk on and on because of that gift God gave us. But in conclusion, I like to say, science and innovations is key to the transformation of Uganda's agricultural sector. By integrating agriculture, industry, and services, we can create value-added products, increase productivity, reduce poverty, and mitigate the effects of climate change. I strongly urge all of us to work towards building a vibrant, resilient, and sustainable agriculture sector that will contribute to Uganda's economic growth and development. In the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit. I thank you all. I wish you good liberation.
That hand clap is not befitting of the only person who is food itself. I picked two things, very important things, that it's those things that are not visible that are most important. Do you agree? We are only telling the truth and only the truth. The second thing, he posed two key questions. And for me, those are the take-home questions. What have you done? What have you done? Kindly reflect. And what have you contributed? May this conference be a source of inspiration on what you need to do moving forward. May it bring that energies for us to be able to contribute to the fourth revolution, and may we walk away more energized to being innovation intentional than we came. Join me to thank the team that has inspired us this morning as we start this conference. Thank you, Professor Bashasha. Thank you, Dr. Agona. We know that in partnerships, we'll do better things. And thank you, Imelda. It's the reason we are here and the energies, and I'm glad you're still able to walk. Thank you, colleagues. And now I hand over to the Master of Ceremonies.
Yes, thank you very much. We are not going to allow this Strategic Thinkers panel to leave. We humbly request you to stand up. The Strategic Thinkers panel, yes, you know, and also joined by the chairperson. Chairperson, kindly join. Do you see all of them? Yes? Kindly clap for them. Yes, we thank you for the words of wisdom. And I requested you to stand, Strategic Thinkers panel, and you're smiling on our behalf. There is a very special photo moment that is happening right now, so that we are able to remember we had a Strategic Thinkers panel leading us later on into the opening ceremony. So all the cameras in the room, Strategic Thinkers panel, make sure you don't miss it. And they are smiling on our behalf. The person smiling ably is Professor Barnabas Nawangwe, the Vice Chancellor, Makerere University. Dr. Ambrose Agona, Director General Naro. Dr. Imelda Kashaija, Chair, Conference Organizing Committee. And the chairperson of this session, Professor Goreti Nabanoga. Yes? Are they really smiling? Yes, congratulations. Thank you very much. Next, Mildred, kindly come and take over. Yes, kindly chairperson, lead the Strategic Thinkers session, or the Strategic Thinkers, to another appropriate seat. And as we listened, I'm glad that the Director General, Naro, talked about youths and us to be able to understand who are the youth. I know that the Vice Chancellor of Makerere University has several times said most of the youth are concentrated at Makerere University, but there have been a classification of who the youths are. But I'm very sure that at Makerere University, we do not have the intellectually challenged and not motivated to work youth. At least those ones are not with us, but they told us we shouldn't leave anyone behind. So to all of us, the participants, the question is, what are you going to do for the intellectually challenged and not motivated youth? Youth who are intellectually challenged and not motivated to work. At the end of today, we will be receiving some answers. Thank you very much. Mildred, kindly take over.
Well, thank you very much, Rita. I am going to request, before we get to have the next speaker, that we all stand up, just humbly. We've been so cold. The weather is not treating us well. People are having their jackets on and the duvets on. So let's all just get some bit of space where you are, because we're going to see who wants to call the rain or who wants to call the sun. So I am just going to request that wherever you're standing, we're going to stretch by starting to call whatever you want, whether it's the sun or the rain. So we go up and call the sun or the rain. As far as it can go, someone said the sun. I don't know whether it's too cold. Where does the sun come from? You can even get on your toes and call it Father. Okay, this is the hardest when I tell people to touch their toes. Touch your toes or your knees, whichever is easier. I know for the ladies, they will say, I'm in heels and all that. So I don't know what you're touching, whether your toes or... Please, I didn't say touch your thighs, because that's very close. There are some people. Can we go back just one more time and I count at least up to about 10 when you're there? How we go? We go down. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Because there are already people who are coming up already. Okay, so we need to stretch our head a little bit. That's very important. It holds your brain. And you want to swing a bit. All right, now we can get seated again. You were acting very, very cold, eh? All right, thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. Now, as we go about it, I am going to kindly request, if you feel like indulging in some coffee, of course, Naro has given us free coffee, as beautiful as it is tasting at the back, but also we have in the tent that you see just right to your left. Yes, there is tea there is some coffee, there are some snacks. So just if you feel like indulging, please, because we're trying to manage time, we may not have to break off entirely. You will make sure that you can go and indulge, have some coffee, make sure that you're doing great. Have some tea, Ugandan tea. I hope we are talking about agriculture and we are promoting local agriculture. I hope that Speak Resort, we thought about Ugandan tea and Ugandan coffee. I am looking at you with a side eye, lest I talk about something different. So in our next discussion, I will be inviting Dr. Sadiq Kasim, who is going to receive the minister, but will be, just before he comes through, key pointers that did come through in our earlier discussion, and this Rita highlighted from Professor Imelda, the role of the youth. We know Uganda's population is almost 75% of the population is dependent. And when I said dependent, that means they're not yet above the age of consent, which is 18. The median age of Uganda is 16. Now, please, ladies and gentlemen, calculate your age and see how many years you're past the median age of Uganda. Just go ahead and calculate. I am not trying to say that you're not in the bracket of development, but I'm just trying to remind you how old or young you are compared to the median age of Uganda. That's very, very key, how we involve the youth. And of course, Professor Barnabas Nawangwe did talk about the issues of balancing the population, land and other development needs. For example, land, it's a finite resource. Each and every other time we are having land wrangles here, land fragmentation, yet we are talking about mechanization. So how do we get to balance? We know that in this cold weather, someone said that a poor person when they start thinking about their bed in the cold weather while others are thinking about going to the garden. So that is when you get to realize. But we know that our fertility rate, at least for the women, it's about 4.5. Okay, there is no half child, but okay, let's say 5 children per lady. But is that commensurate with the kind of development aspects that we are planning, but also with the land that we do have? We need to think about that. So, Professor, looking at balancing the population and development was a very key pointer. And of course, Dr. Ambrose Agona talked about sustainability. And I love at the end when he asked what you can do. Like John F. Kennedy said, before you ask what the country can do for you, ask yourself what you can do for the country. Before you say government yetuyambe, what have you done? What do you need the government to help you with? And that's the key discussion that we need to be paying attention to. And of course, he went into the realm that I enjoy most, which is IT data. It's one thing to collect all this data and aggregate it, but do we go down to analyze the kind of data that we do have? We keep saying, oh, median age is 16, oh, Ugandan population is youthful, oh, there are women, more women in agriculture. But are we munching those numbers to inform the kind of prospects that we have, even for agriculture industrialization? That's just a key take-home. Ladies and gentlemen, allow me invite Dr. Sadiq Kasim, who is going to be taking on our next intervention. And I will kindly request, before he comes, that we all stand up in respect of our minister, Honorable Bright Rwamirama, the Minister for Animal Husbandry. Let's welcome him as he gets in. He will listen, of course, to one of our keynote addresses before he gets to speak to us or before he gets to address us. Ladies and gentlemen, coming in is Honorable Bright Rwamirama, Minister for Animal Husbandry. Thank you so much, sir, for coming off your busy schedule. And ladies and gentlemen, you may get seated. And without any further ado, let's welcome with a round of applause, warm as it can be, Dr. Sadiq Kasim to take on our next session.
Okay. The Right Honorable Prime Minister, whom we are yet expecting to be in, the Minister, the Honorable Minister of Agriculture, Animal Industry and Fisheries, ministers present, members of Parliament, Chairperson, Naro Governing Council, Chairperson, Makerere University Council, Director General Naro, the Vice Chancellor, Makerere University, the USAID representative in Uganda, distinguished guests, distinguished science, all the members of the organizing committee, ladies and gentlemen, I take this opportunity to first of all welcome you and thank all those who made presentations that have ended in that last session. We want precisely receive one keynote address from Mr. Olen Wanda to enable the next session, which will be the full opening involving the honorable ministers. So in that regard, without wasting of time, we want I want to invite Honorable Mr. Olen Wanda to take a seat up and make the keynote presentation, which will be preceded by the opening session. And that opening session is structured to include the chairperson of University Council, Makerere University Council, the chairperson, Naro Governing Council, and the honorable ministers. So without wasting time really, we want the presentation be shown on the screen, and I invite him to come and make it. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair of the session, Dr. Sadiq Kasim, Honorable Minister of Agriculture in charge of animal industry, Chairman, Naro Governing Council, Chairperson, Makerere University Council, the Director General Naro, the Vice Chancellor, Makerere University, Principal, College of Agriculture and Environment Sciences, representatives of development partners, government officials present, esteemed scholars, researchers, innovators, farmers, private sector actors, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, good morning. My name is Olen Wanda Kahuruka. I work with Uganda Development Corporation as a manager investments, agro-industry. I'm very happy to be here and particularly happy to give this keynote address. I bring you greetings from Uganda Development Corporation, from my chairperson, Mr. Godfrey Ruhurira, and ED, Dr. Patrick Burunji. I'm first of all honored to give this keynote address on challenges and opportunities in mechanization and agro-industrialization in developing countries. In regard to the theme, innovation for enhancing productivity and industrialization. I think I've forgotten the, sorry. Sorry about that. So when I was invited to give the keynote address, this keynote address, I first of all thought, where do I start and how do I move? Because, as you can see, the topic, challenges and opportunities in mechanization and agro-industrialization in developing countries, is enormous. And therefore, how do I become relevant in that, faced with such a challenge itself? So I decided my background is planning. So I decided to view it from the policy perspective. And the policies are certainly shaped by governments in power. And therefore, I took a lens of history of how we got here. In planning, you ask yourself, where am I? And how did I get here? And therefore, the presentation, I will start with an introduction, the definition of mechanization and agro-industrialization, not specifically to hold a lecture, but to have a basic understanding, and why mechanization and agro-industrialization, overview of mechanization and agro-industrialization, opportunities, challenges, and solutions, and then I'll conclude. As an introduction, the importance of agriculture is known to you all. However, the sector suffers from low productivity and limited value addition, due in part to limited investments in mechanization. The low adoption of mechanization has hindered the growth of agro-industrialization. It is estimated that 90% of plowing relies on human labor, and only 3% of arable land is irrigated. The challenges and opportunities of mechanization and agro-industrialization are a result of policy landscape that has shaped Uganda for the last 150 years. In all that, agriculture has been central to national development since pre-colonial times. So what's the meaning of agricultural mechanization and agro-industrialization? According to FAO and UNIDO, agricultural mechanization involves the application of mechanical technology to enhance the productivity of human labor in agriculture. It includes use of various types of tractors, animal-powered and human-powered implements, internal combustion engine, and other energy sources. Agro-industrialization, I found a comprehensive definition by Riddon and Barrett. Indeed, this is what we followed when we were designing NDP3. It looks at the whole value chain, certainly, but it looks at agro-processing, distribution, but also agro-manufacturing that does not